This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. Today we have a special guest, a returning guest, fresh off of his Wrestlemania week appearances in Las Vegas, UFC legends, former actor on Friends. He's fought in Japan, WCW wrestler. He's done it all. David Tank Abbott, how are you doing today, sir, from your wonderful home in Scottsdale, Arizona?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here. The weather's beautiful. Having a good time, enjoying myself, taking it easy.
You're also an author too, fans. If you look him up on Amazon, you can see the books that he's written. They're fiction books, but they're based on reality. But speaking of, you've been in the news lately. People have been talking about your WrestleMania appearances because you look different. A lot of people have been commenting, but not in a bad way, in a good way. But also, it appears you made up with Don Fry, who had a severe hatred for you. You seem like I guess you're not standing quite beside each other, but it looks like you guys were on a stage together at one point. How are things between you two?
Oh, I've never had a problem with what's his name, Dan, Don.
Don the Predator Fry.
Yeah, and the Beast, Dan Severn. I've never had a problem. I don't have a problem with anybody. You have a problem with me, then that could change. But no, I've never had a problem with him. You know, it is what it is. Uh, we're professional. Whatever. I don't. Like I said, I've never had a problem with anybody, and if I did, they certainly would know it.
Yeah, I guess he had made some remarks, not just to me, but to other people over the years. But it's always different when you guys are beside each other. Um, and obviously, you're both prize fighters. It's not like you're just going to attack or anything. If you guys were ever going to fight, I'm sure you'd want one of those big Saudi Arabia paydays.
Yeah, sure, but I'll fight for nothing, which I've fought on short notice. Whatever. If the principle and everything's about it is there, I will do it. But there's nothing that got under my skin with him. Who cares? He can say whatever he wants to say, and I can say whatever I want to say. Just don't touch me, and you don't have a problem. Or
How
vice
was how was he
versa.
looking physically? Because we've seen you. You're back there benching 315. I don't know if you're up above 315 yet. You're in the gym. You're moving around well lately.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't make comments. He's doing the best he can, I guess. He's getting around. I think he has a lot of back problems and stuff like that. I think was I don't keep up with him. I don't keep marks on him, but I think he's got rods and stuff like that in his back, and you know he was walking around, but it was kind of you know he looked a little labored, but we're all getting old. But yeah, he wasn't too swift on his feet.
how did you like being back? I know you've done Comic Cons here and there and Starcast. But this was like your first time, like for a couple days in a row, I think, being right immersed to WrestleMania. Did you get the taste at all to want to get back into fighting or pro wrestling, being there and amongst the fans and being amongst the whole vibe of the big fight atmosphere?
Oh, absolutely. So it's fun and all. It's also nice to get away from it, but um, yeah, no, if you're in for it, and that's what you signed up for. That's what I did. So you just gotta say, hey, I said I was gonna do this, so here I am, and might as well make the best of it. There's a lot of crazy fans out there, and They're all cool. Everybody's respectful, and that's all that really matters, you know. How can you go wrong? People telling you how great you are for however long, how many days you're there, and it gets tiresome after a while. But how can you get tired of people telling you you're great? Um,
You have someone on here saying Tank rules, by the way.
see, there you go. That's awesome. How can you go wrong with that? So I made the most of it. We had a good time in Vegas. Got good to see some guys I seen from WCW I used to work with, and you know, say hi to them, and see what's going on in their lives, and whatever.
Who were some of the WCW guys you ran into? I know that you used to be close with the Steiners, and I saw they were at WrestleCon.
Yeah, there must have been different parts of it of WrestleCon. I didn't see the Steiners, but saw Ernest, the Cat Miller. He's always fun to talk to, and people like that. All the big guys were walking around. Flair and Nash and all those kind of cats. Good to watch and see and say hi to.
I owe you $2 next time we run into each other because someone's tipping you $2 here and says, "How did you like dancing with 3 count?"
Oh, that was awesome. That's my wife's thumb.
You wanted me to do that? Not the thumb part. Is that
Yeah.
good, Devin?
Yeah, that's good
Okay,
because you were getting more of the roof than his body, but he looks good there.
good.
By
Yes.
the way, fans, that's his lovely wife and their daughter, or sorry, his wife's daughter was also with them. Um, WrestleMania weekend, the whole family.
We had
Ah,
fun.
the family getaway,
It,
man.
it was a good time. We missed you, Devin. I thought you were coming.
I had people call me.
I was there, but I was in an accident. But we won't get into that.
Are you kidding? You were there?
Yeah, I was hit by a car.
What?
Yeah, I got my head is all messed up. Yeah,
Oh
Oh
my
my
wow.
back
God.
is all messed up.
Were
Yeah,
you in the
it's
hospital?
all right. I'll tell you about that another time.
Okay,
This
okay.
is the
After
fans don't want to know about that, but
Oh my
yeah.
God. Okay, we'll talk later.
Before that, we were talking about.
The guy 3 count, and do you
Oh
still
yeah,
keep in
three count.
touch? Someone's asking. Do
That
you
was
still
that,
keep
that
in
was
touch with them?
no. I now and then I'll see him somewhere at one of these like WrestleCon kind of things. But no, I think Evan or something like that went off, and he's not around the business anymore and stuff like that. But no, that was fun doing a 3 count. Yeah, because you're on the road and stuff like that, and you didn't really have to worry about doing a match or anything like that. So it was perfect fit for me. Got me out of the door quicker and in the bar seat faster.
Sam wants to know, and this is a good question. How could someone get a personal autograph from you if they don't go to one of those shows? Is there a way to contact you? I put up your Amazon book. Like for instance, could they get an autographed copy of your Amazon book somehow? Or
Yeah, you have to whatever. I'm not too swift with the vernacular of Instagram, but I think it's a DM. So you DM me, and I'll give you information where to send the book, and I can sign it and send it back to you as long as you do a self addressed stamp envelope kind of thing. I'm down to sign something for you. Go through all that.
now, for a while, you and Dan Severn had some heat, not real heat, but like you were trash talking each other a bit, stemming from your fight. Then I did that interview with you guys. You seem to be getting closer. I mean, you seem to be have more respect. I know there was always respect, but it seems like you guys have a little bit more respect for each other these days. How was being around him at WrestleMania? Did that develop any more of a friendship?
Well, to be honest with you, they're all they do their thing, but I'm not going to call them up to go break bread with any of them. But that doesn't mean they're not cool people or anything. He's just not. There's a guy that he's a as a commander of a good friend of mine from Vietnam, and he's a POW. And he said one time, Bird, who was a good buddy of mine, lived with me for a little bit. Let him stay at my place, but he's like, "Oh yeah, you and Zippo need to go out and hang out and go to dinner and stuff like that." His commander looked at him and said, "Bird, Denny." He goes, he's a POW, one of those, you can't explain it, but his name's Zippo, is POW from Vietnam. And he said the old saying or what have you, and that is, he goes, we're like eagles. He goes, we might share the side of a mountain, but we never flock. And that's true. So we can share the side of the mountain now and then, but I'm not going to go hang out with them.
My grandfather was a prisoner of war in Germany, and there were some horror stories from that. And this guy says his father told him what they did to prisoners of war in Vietnam, which I've been researching a bit too. Did he have any stories for you that you could share with us about the horrors that they had to deal with over there?
Oh, he has quite a few of them. You guys can look him up. His name's Mark Smith, Major Mark Smith, Zippo. Um, he needs to be a Medal of Honor recipient. He's kind of a maverick tail, a hellraiser, and they might have kind of made it hard for him to be considered. But yeah, his name's Mark Smith, and he was quite eccentric to say the least. And as far as, yeah, he did, he stayed over there for a long time, over in Thailand and all that. But he has quite a lot of stories about the bad guys and what they did, and his whole being captured and held against his will. But yeah.
Did you ever consider going into the military? Because you seem like the type that would want to be like, I can actually go and kill people legally and live this wild lifestyle. And I'm not saying people, but the bad guys, people that deserve it. Like,
I actually, what's the magazine called? Soldier of Fortune. I had a little run with that kind of back in high school, kind of thing. But I just was not down with the structure, what have you, the authority and the whole gimmick, kind of almost like football. It's not, wasn't my kind of scene. Even though my dad was a football coach, and football was almost like a religion in my house, but I had a little bit of problem with people yelling at me and playing the game.
that was my problem too when I was in the reserves. Someone wanted to know, is your goatee ever going to come back, and why did you shave it?
Mm. No, I don't know. You never know. It just depends. And you can't say yes or no on those kind of things. It just sometimes things like that happen. But I think I cut it off because I was tired of being Tank, kind of thing. You know what I mean? After I got out of the hospital and going through all the things I went through, it was kind of time to move on, and so I cut it off.
How does it feel when you hear people that have said bad stuff about you in the past, even now, like the report I sent you the other day? People are talking, "Hey, Tank, he's looking totally different." leaned out. Like, how does it feel when you go from death's doors to people in some ways saying you look better than you have in a long time?
Well,
That's got to cheer you up a bit.
yeah, a little bit, but I wrestled in college at 190 pounds, and this is basically what I kind of looked like back then. And when I found out that I was going to be in the UFC, I kind of started putting weight on, and I said, I got to get big. And so doing that, I just started eating everything and anything, I like eat the whole pizza, the whole 9 yards. And my walking around weight was like 225 or so. So I just pushed it, and I'm obviously naturally strong. So my strength was going up. I was getting bigger, and obviously I don't get all ripped up and stuff like that from all these clowns that take steroids do. And I just got bigger, you know, fattier skin, that kind of thing. And but at the same time, I could run. I ran a marathon weighing 227 pounds. So,
Are you back running yet?
now my knee's fucked up. So, I don't push it. I mean, it's healthy enough to walk around and do my thing. And if I, God forbid, someone made me fight them, I would be fine. But if it definitely, I know it's there. Let's put it that way.
I actually watched this match recently, and I had a few fans wanted me to ask you the story of you pulling the knife in WCW. Was that a surprise? Because it seemed like Tony Schiavone was trying to say he's got a pair of scissors. They were trying to
Yeah,
cover it up. Like, what's the
yeah.
story behind that?
Well, WCW was in kind of a huge state of disarray, and people didn't know who was in charge, what was in charge, what was going on, what they had planned. And in professional wrestling, they have an idea where they're going a couple months ahead of time. And but all the people that were in charge didn't know if they were in charge or weren't in charge. So everybody was kind of in limbo, and they were like, well, what the hell do we do with Tank? And so I could only guess. They were like, well, he's not really my project, and he's not your project. Let's let him self destruct. And so it was a pay per view, and nobody helped us out with anything. And I don't know who was in charge at the time. There's who, whatever. But so they said, okay, hey, you guys you do whatever you want, and you got Big Al here. And I'm like, well,
Who is Big Al, anyways? Is that really just a fan that's your friend, and you're like, hey, can I wrestle my friend?
he used to walk me out with the UFCs.
Oh, okay.
And so they did a run up before that, and that was like Big Al coming to watch me at professional wrestling, and he was calling me a sellout, and then I left real fighting to go do wrestling, and that I was kind of soft in the whole 9 yards, and he didn't like what was going on, and so we were going to fight over my jacket that I used to wear with birds. My buddy's birds Vietnam patches that he had all his tours that he did 3 tours in Vietnam. So he put all his patches on my jacket. And in fact, I had a POW patch with Zippo on there. He signed it, and so the jacket I still have is kind of like memorabilia, but it's also dear to my heart. So he he we had a pole match where they're gonna put, and they were asking me what to do, like what the hell do I know? And I I forget who was running the show back at those times. And I I went there, and so they said, I said, how about we we do a match over my jacket with Big Al, and Al comes to the show and kind of poo poos the show, call me a sellout, and it would come to a head at the pay per view in San Francisco, I believe. And they were like, "Oh well, it's okay, I guess." You know, it wasn't their ideas about anything, and so they said, "Okay, go ahead and do it." Well, I kind of put the match together with Al, and Al's never done any professional wrestling whatsoever, any, and other than me and him just messing around when we were drunk. But you know, that was it. And so they asked me, you know, I go, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and I went to a couple of the agents that were do my matches usually, and I hey said I was thinking about doing this, and I was thinking about doing that, and all of them would look at me and just put their hands up in the air and they go, well, do whatever you want to do. I can't tell you what to do and not what not to do. You know what I'm saying? And I was going, man, this is really weird. Anyways, so I put the match together, and I was going to carry him up the turnbuckle there and then throw it. He was going to take a back bump off of the top rope from me standing on top of it, holding on where the jacket was. And on, he wasn't helping me whatsoever. And so,
This is what you're talking about, right? Can you see the
yeah,
picture? Ooh,
yeah.
that's scary.
Yeah, well, so I'm almost up there. And he starts going, I'm going to fall. And I'm like, oh, please don't, man, in my head. And so he's like trying to hold on for dear life. And he fell.
Even
And he,
even just to climb up the turnbuckles and keep balance with a guy that big
yeah,
on you.
he's like 250. So I'm like trying to pick him up, and then he falls from that picture you just saw. He fell from there, and he hit the steps on the turnbuckle there, and I was like, oh fuck. So like I'm going, what do I do now? And so I said, oh fuck it, I might as well grab the jacket. So when I was taking my jacket down, I realized that I have a knife in there because you know it was my usual jacket, and I go, oh fuck. So I said, what the hell? So you know, it was just a last second thought, and so I pulled the knife out and I jumped down there, and I thought I'd rough him up a little bit for falling, number one, but just number two to have some fun. And so I hit him a few times, and I had the knife in my hand, and I said, oh, what the hell, might as well jazz it up a little bit. And at that time, so I put it to his neck and said, you know, what I could do to him. And walked in the back, and everybody was in a state of shock, like, oh my God, what does Jews do? And before that, uh, Bird used to drive around the country. Bird was a character and a half. I love the man to this day. I think of him constantly. But he used to drive around in his van, and he had like a, you could live in there if you really wanted to, but he had a thing, and I told Big Al, I go, hey, this can get pretty nerve wracking, especially if you've never done this before, and get nervous or anything, let me know. We can get some booze and take your edge off of you a little bit. And so before the fight, he or the wrestling match, he goes, "Hey man," and I'm all, "What?" He goes, "I'm getting really nervous," and I'm like, "Uh oh." And so that's probably why he fell. And the show had just was getting ready to start, and so I said, "All right." So we had somebody go get us a bottle of booze, and we sat in the back of Bird's van, which he used to call the War Wagon. And so we're sitting in the back of the War Wagon having cocktails, and finally his nerves went away, and that might have added to the part of him botching the match up a little bit.
Yeah, and one thing I don't understand, what is the big deal in pro wrestling if you pull out a knife? Honestly, everybody
I
knows
know
it's a show. It's like, how is that different than I don't know,
we
Law and Order or something?
we I didn't get it either, and how, I don't know if you know or not, but when you're on the road and everything like that, you go do a pay per view show afterwards. Everybody meets back at the hotel and drinks in the bar there. And so we go walking in there, and everybody was kind of like, ooh, ooh. That was one of the most brutal matches we ever seen. We've never seen anybody get stepped on their face like that. And somehow a guy that weighs 250 pounds stand on your face like that. And then everybody was trying to figure out how you do that. And I'm like, it's called sucking it up. That's how you do it. You just fucking make sure they don't step on your nose, and you're all right.
To be honest, I watched that match, and I would rather watch that than a bunch of people slapping their legs, doing kicks and doing flips. Because I know you
Yeah,
guys are at least you're throwing potatoes, you're
yeah,
roughing each other up. You're both. I mean, I don't even know the guy, but I can tell he's tough. Like
yeah,
I'd rather watch that than anything they had on WrestleMania,
yeah,
and also for the botch reasons. That was funny when he
yeah.
fell.
No, yeah, it was awesome, and then they were like, "Oh wow, have they talked to you yet?" And one of the road girls was there for the show, and she's like, "Oh, they were freaking out in the truck and all that kind of stuff." And so they came up, and they had me go away with one of the agents. It was impromptu.
Was it the rooster?
Oh no, no, I got my own problems with that guy. But he, I go, yeah. I think I know who it was, but he's no longer with us. But he's a friend of yours. But he's like, what the hell did you pull a knife out for? And I said, well, you guys told me to put the match together. And I go, I don't know how to put a fucking match together. I don't know how to do anything. I go, not a fucking thing. I go, I did the best I could with you. You take two green guys that don't know anything about the business, and you say, go in there and do a match. I go, I had no clue. And when we laced up our hands and
Yeah,
with the belts, with
yeah.
this belt, I was telling somebody about tying ourselves together and punching each other. And I don't know if you saw later on in that show with two guys tie themselves together and punch each other, but it happened, and
Interesting.
I was like, what the, what the, like everything you hear about professional wrestling and what goes down. I was like a blatant ripoff of what I said I was going to do. And I don't know even know what the hell I'm doing. And I think they wanted to
So
out
you think they took your idea, or you think, yeah?
what I think Flair and Hogan tied themselves up into a little Indian something death thing.
Oh, Yakima strap match or something, Indian
Yeah,
strap
yeah,
match.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
And
remember
they
that
and they,
now.
yeah, and they were hitting each other. I'm like, what the hell is that about? Because that
Yeah.
that was too coincidental. And professional wrestling is professional wrestling. I go, that's what you get for fucking running your mouth and telling somebody something.
Hey, what do you think about The Rock not being at WrestleMania? Just to ask you, do you think when they have that many people come in that they should bring the top star and make sure he's there? Do you think he can do whatever he wants? Because to me, I mean, those fans are paying like $10,000 for front row tickets,
Yeah,
and like,
no kidding. And I have no idea. I don't know the ins and outs with the Rock at all. But he's the man, I guess. He can do what he wants.
yeah, I would be pissed if I bought tickets and he did not go at those prices, but that's why I don't buy tickets.
Yeah.
Someone wanted to know about your experience with Pride, and did you have any Yakuza interactions over in Japan?
Well, and to find out, um, I was well. I don't know. Say yeah, I'm not so clear with this, but I'm pretty sure they came to me first before any of those guys went to Japan um, to go over there and fight. And I actually met, I forget the guy's name, but he's like the head of Pride. And we met in a Bob's Big Boy by this guy's, not a partner, but his company, his dad's company that was around the block. And he said, "Hey man, these guys from Japan want you to come meet, and they'll pay you a lot of money to go and fight in Japan." And so I went and listened to him. Well, just like a lunch thing. It was like real, like, okay, let's go over to Bob's Big Boy and talk to these guys. And they were offering me more money to go fight there, but just the principles and the morals of what I'm about and the backstabbing I would have had done to the UFC and the people that I signed a contract with, that I was like, whatever, the money's great and everything, but I can't do that. And then next thing you know, I think it was Coleman and all those guys went over there and started fighting for them. So Fry and them. And I was like, oh, wow.
Shamrock too, I think, didn't he? Or was Shamrock before?
No, that was before. That's when the UFC was being infiltrated by the uh, I don't want to get into it, but the UFC, those they were ran by music producers, the pay-per-view guys, and their idea of a fight would be like socking somebody in high school in the lunch line because he stole your ice cream. That was a fight for those guys. Um, so they didn't know their heads from their ass, but so I didn't go fight for them, but that was pride. And then after I got out of wrestling, my my heart really wasn't into anything. I didn't care. I didn't care about fighting really. I was like, if you want to pay me that kind of money to go over there and fight, well, what the hell? I'll do it. And I went over and I fought some judo guy, but they they knew what they were doing. I was all jet lagged. I was actually sleeping when they're waking me up, like, hey, you got to fight in like 5 minutes. And so I went out there and did my thing, but you know, no, I didn't. They were run by the Yakuza, I guess. They had a criminal organization going on, which is whatever. It's all money. It all spends the same. But I was like just out on the periphery with those guys. I never did anything. After the first time I said, yeah, sure. I had this guy that was kind of like a mouthpiece, motor mouth dude that would talk. It was, oh, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And then, I went and said, no, I don't, I'm not going to do that. I don't, that's not how I operate. And I'm not going to backstab people. And, I think that I ended up filling in for Coleman to fight against Maurice Smith. All these fights and stuff don't really, you know, bounce back and forth the way they should, but as I remember. But so I ended up filling in for Coleman against Maurice Smith. Something like that. One of those fighters that right at the last minute, they didn't have anybody to fight. So they had me fight. And then that's why everybody runs around and says, oh, he doesn't show up in shape, all that kind of stuff. Well, when you get a phone call a couple of days before, hey, will you do this for us, please, please, please? And you go up and you say, hey, I told that McCartney guy before the fight, I go, hey, I'm not in shape whatsoever. I go, so this guy starts kicking me, and I say, hey, that's it. I go, that's done. I'm not going to sit there and take a beating, but I'm here saving your asses for for the show. So at least say something. And of course, it's business is business. They never fucking said a word. They
Yeah. It sounds like wrestling, very similar to wrestling.
it's business is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's similar, but it's like, oh well, I'm not gonna cry about it. But remember who fucking saved your ass? I saved their ass like more than 3 or 4 times. Then you got all these fucking fools that run around and fucking want to dissect my fighting abilities or whatever and never get in shape. You go try fighting 3 times against the two biggest guys ever in the UFC, and then fight for 14 minutes against some guy that fucking fought his friend before you. Because all these tournaments,
Yeah.
all these tournaments, and all that are easy to if you have you fight your friends. All these guys fight their friends, and they all scheme and do whatever. They're fucking cheaters, narcissistic fucking punks that run around and do bullshit that wouldn't if it was easy a fair fight without their cheating, they wouldn't be victorious.
You can still trash talk, can't you? Jason wants to know, what would your dream fight have been in your prime against any other fighter from your era in their prime? What do you think? Or did you have it?
Mm, you know what? The first, I don't want to say a fight because I really don't really remember any of them. But the first show was my dream day for fighting. Um, that was as raw as it gets. It was truthful as much as you can. But Oleg went out and fought his fucking friend, and then you got McCartney fucking and you guys have no one knows the backstory, and maybe I might just start fucking telling people what really went down. But the backstory of McCartney and his little cheating ways, not really so much cheating ways, but the guy's a stooge for you know, for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or Gracie Jiu Jitsu because he was a student. You guy, like you said, I'd love to fight the guy. We'll see
Yeah,
this.
I hope it happens. We can just keep saying it. Saudi Arabia put it together, and I'm sure he would do it for the money that those people pay over there.
Yeah, I'm down for it, man. I would love to beat the hell out of that guy.
Would you have
I
like a
don't.
blood sport pro wrestling match? Like I know you saw blood sport. You were at the show Josh Barnett put on. Like, would you get in there in a wrestling match situation again and kind of test yourself? I know it's predetermined and everything, but that's a little bit more rougher style.
Yeah, yeah, I'm down. You know what? I'm pretty healthy right now, and
Because honestly, you look in better shape than Butterbean. Because I was looking at you guys together, and I like Butterbean. This is no insult to Butterbean, but if you guys look, Butterbean had a match, and
oh
Tank
yeah.
is behind him. You actually look in better shape than Butterbean, to me. And
Well,
Butterbean's doing great.
I love Butterbean and all that. Actually, I think he's a cool guy and all 9 yards. But
A ladies' man too, supposedly.
I hope you think I look better in Butterbean. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying because he had a match. He actually
uh,
had a match. So I mean,
yeah.
to me, if he can have a match, you could have a match.
Oh yeah. And my organs are all right. And I live out here on an acre, and purposely, I have I've had tons of dirt, like 40 tons of dirt dropped off in the back, and I've wheelbarrowed it all the way around the whole area that I needed to. I subsequently got two more 40-ton dumps, but I told the guy when he first came here and he dropped it off with his dump truck, he's like, "You gonna get a tractor and do this?" I go, "No, man, I'm gonna do it by myself." And he thought I was crazy as a shithouse rat. And after I did it, I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that again." And so I got a tractor for the next two. But yeah, I I I I can get out and do physical things. I haven't rolled with anybody, but in my mind, I think that I could do all right, which
Yeah.
is which could be deceiving. But
Well,
if I
it's going to be on my bucket list. I want to get in the ring with you one of these days in
uh,
in pro wrestling
yes,
and have an extremely hard hitting. I one thing I did see the highlights of that blood sport. If I had you and me could have had a way more hard hitting match than any of those guys. I'll just
I
say that straight up. I know Josh is a great fighter and he had a great technical match, but we would have just gone out there and brawled.
oh
So.
I did a match with him in Japan, and
Oh yeah,
it was
we talked about that, but we didn't go into details
it
last
was
time. Could you tell
it,
us that story?
it was pretty snug. Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I don't. Neither one of us got hurt, but it was snug and stiff, if you will. But I could see other guys complaining about it. I got no complaints. I was happy. I thought it went down good.
Hey, it looks like I owe you a burger next time I'm in Phoenix, which will hopefully be this summer. Drago tipping $5 here says, "Can you quack like a duck, like that time you called Doug Dillinger head of security in
Yeah.
WCW?" I still find that funny to this day. I think I must have missed that.
Well, yeah. Doug was a special kind of guy.
Are
Uh,
you going to give this guy the quack?
well, you know what? I must have lost it with my my strokes, but I can't quite remember what, because that had to have been an
Yeah,
impromptu.
I don't remember that either.
Yeah, that'd have to be an impromptu thing I must have done.
How was he like? Because he was the real head of security too. Do you have any memories of him? Was he a good security guy, or
Well,
was
I was one of those guys that hung out by myself, and so there was no real reason for him to even know I existed. Trying to think that maybe he might have once or twice said something to me, but I didn't pay it any mind. He's like, whatever. Eh.
now Dark Side of the Cage? It's like Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if it's quite as popular or not, but I saw, I don't know, a month or so ago, the Kimbo Slice one, and they showed the highlights of your match, but they took out every single piece of offense you had. It's like they purposely
Well,
like made you look bad. What did you think about? Did you even know
I
about? Or I guess I told you, but did you watch it at all?
no, I never caught it. Yeah, well, if you're trying to get somebody over, why not?
I just thought, come on. I mean, is it gonna hurt? Why do you have to do that to Tank?
Oh well,
Yeah,
I'm a big boy. I can take it.
yeah.
That was a weird thing. You know what? It's all written. Things are strange. That was a strange one. I don't even I don't even know what happened in that fight. To be honest with you, and I was in a decent shape. I don't know what. Just I must have caught one.
That was a huge fight at the time too, because wasn't that for like a smaller promotion? But it was just
It
as
was
big
a,
as
it was
any
a
world
yeah, it was the first time on Showtime. So it was some promotion for Showtime.
because it made the news in my city in Canada. I remember it was in the actual sports section.
Yeah,
So that's
wow.
how much people were talking about it for the fans that don't remember it. But it was a big
Yeah,
deal.
well, if it, you know, I would have liked to have done better, obviously, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do? You
If
know, these kind of fights, and I've always said, I would love to have like the best out of three fights, and have one on each night. And if you're gonna do like say whatever John Jones and whoever's gonna fight him, I don't know. I don't watch. I've never even seen John Jones fight, but I've heard he's the goat and all that kind of stuff. But for him, like whoever he fights, have one fight every night for 3 nights, and the best. So if you beat it, you win the first one and the second one, then it's done. But if you win the first, lose the first one, win the second one, then you have the finale. I don't know how many fighters would be down for doing that, but I would. Because you can get caught in and all sorts of things like the cabbage fight that I had on my comeback. I I actually went and fought him again in Hawaii, and I think he's probably still sleeping from the punch I hit him with. But they stopped it on a cut because he need me. Um, that was another John McCartney BS story behind that, but it all got rectified when we had the rematch. So
Drago said that Doug Dillinger thing was you're about to have a match with Jerry Flynn.
oh
Was
okay.
he tough? He was supposed to be some big martial arts guy.
Yeah, no, Jerry was a cool guy. They're all cool guys. He tatered me one time, not really tatered me, but he fucking kicked me with one of those boots, and the heel, or not the heel, but the sole of his boot fucking nailed me in the head. Holy fuck, I'm not one to say anything, whatever. And later we were having drinks in the bar, and he's all, hey, I catch you with my boot? And I sure the fuck did. I had a lump on my head, and I go check it out. But other than that, that was my only memory of him, other than whatever. But we had a little run together, and he was a good guy. I don't know what happened to that guy, but yeah, he was good.
Yeah, some of those WCW guys kind of fell off the radar. Like Glacier, was he tough? He was another one of these martial artists. Seems like a nice guy, but
Yeah, no, I don't even remember. Maybe I remember his gimmick a little bit, the glacier thing, but there was that kind of a level of guys that you kind of go, all right, but then you never see him again.
I had an amateur match before a WWE show with Shelton Benjamin once. And I know it happened with Lesnar and Angle and stuff. In WCW, did that ever happen before the shows? Did any of you guys like get in the ring and friendly, like
Yeah.
grapple around, or it was none of
No
that?
one ever wanted to. Um, there was one guy um, at the power plant. I don't even remember. He's a jobber kind of guy, and he started obviously not a very intelligent guy, but he started turning the knobs up on the volume. And so I said, what the fuck's this guy doing? And so I kind of said, oh, we want to go there, huh? And so I spun him around and kind of let him know who's who and what's what. And he's all, oh, wow, oh, was I going too hard? And I go, but hard you want to go, let me know. We can. I go, there's a lot more than that. And he kind of got the lesson or whatever and left it at that. But no one really ever thought that they were tough there. Not that I know of, anyways.
Sam remembers your Tank Abbott Show podcast, and he remembers fondly your challenge to Ronda Rousey,
Well,
saying that you'd have her make you a sandwich. I guess
well,
she's. I think we talked about this before. Thanks for the comment there, Sam. But I don't think anyone's going to disagree nowadays about
yeah, it's a,
Rhonda because her myth has kind of been. I mean, she had a great run, but once she started getting those losses, that was it.
yeah. Like, come on, like this is ridiculous. Like, regardless of names or who's or what's, you're a woman. All right, you're gonna go fight naturally one of the strongest men in the world, and you're a woman, and you think you're gonna win in a fight, much less a guy that's been in many mixed martial arts fights and hundreds of street fights, and you're a woman, and you think you're gonna overpower a naturally one of the strongest guys in the world, and you're gonna go in there and win that fight. And the only dumbass that ever even said that I remember saying that, oh yeah, Ronda, teach him a lesson or two. Actually, there was two of them, and they're both on the special short bus when they go to school. That was Tito and that Frank Shamrock bozo. They're two fucking idiots, man. They sit in the front fucking bench seat of the bus and pretend with their ghost steering wheels that they're driving the bus to school.
You debuted as a quote unquote pit fighter in 1995 in UFC. Did you just go along with okay, if you want to call me a pit fighter, be that, or did you write in martial art? I'm a pit
No,
fighter.
no.
What is a pit
The,
fighter?
well, you know what? I found out later in life, but way late after even my surgery. But
You should have a shirt made of you in a pit with a cartoon of you saying Tank Abbott pit fighter. I would buy that.
Wow. The pit fighter thing. Anyways, the UFC, I went there and I was fresh out of jail. I think I might have still, no, I was fresh out. No, I might not have been. I might have been working at a halfway house thing for fighting. I was in jail, but I was in a halfway house for a fight. But we went there, and no, I definitely was out. And the guy that was running the show, well, he said he was running the show. He was another stooge like McCartney of the Gracies and Art Davie. So we went to his office, and he he's like, well, what kind of fighter are you? And I said, well, I've wrestled since I've been 8 years old. And I go, I wrestled my whole life, and I go, that's what the deal is, and so I'm a wrestler. And he's all, well, we already have a wrestler, the Dan Severn guy. And I'm like thinking to myself, yeah, but he's not really a fucking fighter. He's like a baby Huey, soft jellyfish, baby boy, like a thing. He's not hard. He's not like a fighter, like a street fighter. And he goes, yeah, and I go, yeah. He goes, what if we called you a street fighter? How do you feel about that? I go, I'd love that. I go, in fact, I just got out of jail for fucking being in a street fight. And he's like, okay, well then we'll have you come in as the street fighter. And I said, all right. And then the next thing I know, I get to the show and I'm a pit fighter, and I'm like, what the fuck's a pit fighter? And they're going, oh, don't worry about it. I go, I'm not worried about it. I don't care as long as I can get in there. You just let me fight. And so after I got out of the hospital and everything like that, I go, okay, I gotta get myself back into shape. I mean, I was down like a fucking skeleton, man. I was like 190 pounds, maybe. I don't think I was any less. But I was skin and fucking bones, and I could barely walk. I was in a wheelchair when I got out of the hospital. But this guy that used to train Rampage Jackson was a boxing guy from England. And Bobby, Coach Bobby, older guy. Wow, it's scary. No, he's older than me. Let's just put it that way. And he's from London or Manchester or somewhere. He's from England, the UK, I guess. And he said that they used to have um, pits, like everybody worked in the pits of the coal mines or something like that. And every Friday night, they were kind of localized and by different um, companies, and whoever the tough guy for the company was represented that company, and so
That sounds fun, by the way.
huh?
That sounds actually pretty fun.
Yeah, and so he said that he goes. So every Friday night was like fight night, and everybody went to the pit, and there was like a pit made out of coal or what have you, and it was like a big ordeal, and it was like a street fight in a pit, and that's where pit fighter comes from. And I'm like thinking to myself, all these fucking years, what is it? Been what, 20 something years, longer, maybe even longer, but it was maybe 25 years or so. It took me to finally hear what a pit fighter was. And that was from these guys that worked for these coal mines. And the big tough guy from each company would meet up, and they would on Friday night, and they would have the pit fights. And if you were the head guy of the company, you were the top pit fighter. At least that's the story he made up and told me.
Apparently, Lee Duffy was a pit fighter, and I don't know who that is, but thanks for that info. You got another $2 here from Drago. Wow, I definitely owe you a big meal next time we run into each other.
Right on.
He wants to know about your dealings with Vince Russo.
Yeah, well, I don't really remember talking. I mean, I talked to him and stuff like that, but we never had like an in-depth conversation. It's always like, hey, you can do this, this, and this. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. But as far as like, hey, Vince, what's going on? That wasn't never like that. It was always in passing, or would find me and go, hey, this is what we want to do. Yeah, and I was just a yes man. I was like, yeah, whatever, okay. Yeah.
Because you were kind of out of wrestling when all that behind the scenes crap was going on in WCW, were you just like, hey, as long as my check comes, I'm just going to show up, party, and do whatever they tell me? Or was that bothering you at all? Like, what the hell? What's going on here? This company's going in the shitter. Like, did it
Well,
bother you?
when it was coming evident that it was coming to an end, it was kind of like, what's going to go on now? And like I said, I don't know if I've told you this before or not, but when I first got there, I think we were in DC, and they brought like the guys that I usually walk out with in the UFC. They brought them there, and we were walking out like almost like we were just kind of being invited in. Before this was before I went and had a little scrap with Steiner. Um, Sid was back there, and you could see him, and everybody's like looking at Sid, going, "Jesus Christ, that guy's a fucking giant." And so he's all, "Hey man, what's going on?" I think I might have seen him a couple times, just briefly. And he's like, "So you gonna be around here for a while?" And I go, "Yeah, I think so." And he goes, "Oh." He goes, "Well, let me tell you something. You can take whatever it's worth." He goes, "But I just suggest to you to keep to yourself, and don't tell anybody about whatever deal you made with anybody or anything, because it's none of their business. And he goes, all it's going to do is cause you problems." And so I took that to heart, and I really didn't hang out with anybody, and kind of helped me out in the long run.
Someone wanted to know about your iconic post-fight comment after UFC 6 where you said you were sexually aroused after beating the crap out of the guy.
Well, that was actually the next show. That was in Denver.
Okay.
That's when Dan Severn um, had his Freddie Mercury look to him, and they they so McCartney um, says one thing that, I can't just let you lay on top of Oleg and not do anything in the whole 9 yards. I had to put you up, even though there were no rules for that. And then, okay, so the next show, uh, roles are reversed, and Severn's on top of me, holding me down, slapping me. If you watch it, he's slapping me the whole time because he didn't want to hurt his knuckles, I guess. And so he they put the clip on, and these jackoffs that fucking they're doing the commentary that don't know anything about fighting are like going, what do you think about that right there? And it was Severin. He kind of had his legs snaked over me, and he was slapping me in his head. And I go, you know, it was like being raped by Freddie Mercury. And then they zoomed in, they put the clip on of him slapping me in the back of the head. And I said, oh, whoa, man, you better get that off. I'm getting sexually aroused. And I guess some people remember that.
Apparently, it's decades later, and they're still talking about it. Stage Pup is asking if you ever wrestled in the Southeastern Conference.
No.
Did you ever fight in Atlantic City, where Ibsen is from?
Atlantic City.
One town
Well,
known for its fights.
yeah, I fought, who the fuck did I fight there? Frank Near there, I think. Yeah. That was at the Trump place.
Yeah, I didn't even know you fought Premier. Interesting.
It
Trump
was,
Plaza.
my mother passed away right before that happened, and I called Dana up and told him I couldn't fight. I go, I don't want to fight. I don't. And he's like, please, please, you have to. I'm like, well, I gotta make it big. I go, but just remember, I don't want to do this, and I'm doing it for you. And you think he remembered?
No, definitely not.
Living
This
Legend.
person has a question that we all know the answer to this. Did you get into any street fights as an adult? I guess maybe the best question to that is, at what age was your last street fight?
Oh, wow. Think about that one.
Because you were still street fighting regularly. Like, was there a crossover? Like, once you started in UFC, you're still starting it.
After that was over with, everybody knew who I was. There was no such thing. You ever get these fucking bozos that bounce and stuff like that? They get once they think they're all that in a bag of chips because they have the law or the paramilitary, you know, the laws on their side, and they're going to, you know, the bouncer's gonna, he's indignantly righteous, and he's gonna stand up for being sober and being in control. I've had those bozos get in my face where I just go, oh my Lord, back in the day when no one knew who I was. And I look like this.
Yeah.
Found out that a lot of people found out they made a mistake. And depending on how much you ran your mouth, that's how much beating you got. I used to give some really bad beatings to people.
Would you bite too? Because you hear a lot of that. Well, in the wrestler stories, like Haku's biting, Paul Orndorff's biting, Brian Blair's biting. Would you bite, or would you be more of a smasher type fighter?
Oh, I do everything. But I bit one. This guy's really cool. He didn't even call the police. I ripped this guy. I bit this guy's ear and ripped it halfway off. But he.
I love the smile that you got when you said that.
Wow. he 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 could have called the police and stuff like that, but he didn't. I still I remember his last name. I still remember him to this day. And I thought it was a real stand-up thing for him not to have done that, not to push it any further. Yeah, I've bit people. I've been bitten. Uh, I've had people stick thumbs in my eyes. I've stuck thumbs in my eyes. One guy stuck a thumb in my eye. I fucking pulled it out and fucking gave him two right back. And that's not a hyperbole. It's all real stuff. I these nothing more that bothers me than that I'm some bozo that makes up bullshit stories like these fucking idiots on TV that are not TV but these little computer things and talk about, oh, I scared an NFL football player and he didn't know who I was and oh boy, if I would have got him, boy. It's like shut the fuck up. Who wants to listen to you?
Exactly. The braggers are not the ones that are actually tough overall.
Oh yeah, and then he's gonna give you. I'm not gonna say people's names, but then he's gonna give you street fighting advice. Come the fuck on. It's
How
all
much of it is honestly just being able to absorb a lot of punishment? What percentage would you say that is of a fighter?
it's 100% mental toughness, tenacity, and if you don't have it, don't even fucking bother trying to be a fighter. I've been bitten. I've had fingers stuck in my eyes. I've been whacked with shit. I've been everything. But I always know I'm gonna get my day. Just hold on, I'll get to it. And it's
Yeah.
not hyperbole and all bullshit. I don't need to make up stories. It's how ridiculousness, and then all these. Most people are either narcissists that don't believe the bullshit because they run around and fucking say all sorts of fucking half-cocked stories that are all just trash. And then if you look them up on the people that write the little messages and all that kind of stuff, usually usually they're all blocked, but sometimes these fools fucking you look at them and they're fucking pussy little fucking worms that think they can say all this shit on
Oh yeah, I get that too. These internet tough guys that have
yeah,
never actually been in any fights.
but they're gonna talk about it,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna fucking sit back and say, "Oh yeah, right. Where's the tape? Where's this?" It's like, come on. What do you think? I sit around and dream up fucking talking stories that you obviously that's what
Yeah.
you guys do because you couldn't comprehend. You wouldn't be alive after a week when I was rolling hard. You'd all fucking be fucking knocking on your mommy's door, going, "Mommy, mommy, this guy's crazy."
Peace and Love has a good question here. You seem like you wouldn't show mercy, would you?
No, I have. It depends. See, all these guys that get the beatings that I've given, they all beg for it, man. There's a big buildup. I sit there and go, "You better fucking shut up," and they don't get it. And trust me, I've let guys go. Like uh, one came back to haunt me. Fucking guy fucking hit me with a hammer and fucking. Oh yeah, I told you that story, and then I was real
Yeah,
sad.
yeah, you did.
And then everybody wants to know why not everybody, but the little message guy. Oh yeah, right. Then why are you having cocktails with him? What do you think, you dumbasses? I'm fucking gonna get the guy when nice and right when it's one on one in a back room somewhere, and I was working hard on it. And he was on to me. He knew that never to be. He'd get up and go to like he was going to go to the bathroom or something. I'd try to follow him, then he would turn real quick. It's just a
You ever give someone a swirly, by the way, speaking of that? Because I heard Dick Slater used to legitimately do that to people.
No, I have not ever done that. No, no. Trying to think. I'm sure I've come close to hurting people in the bathroom. I remember one time these things called there used to be nightclubs called the Red Onion, and I'm talking everybody that was in it. I seen Wilt Chamberlain in there and all sorts of things. And back in those days, they had these roid heads that would all go around. It was before they're commonplace nowadays, and people knew what it was. And this guy had like a Miami Vice jacket on and all the whole get up look. And I fucking grabbed his jacket by his lapels and I fucking ran him through the bathroom door. It was a heavy door that kind of swung open. And I knocked the snot out of that fucker. But yeah, in the bathroom. I didn't do anything. I didn't stick his head in the toilet or anything like that. But yeah.
2025 Rising wants to know your funniest street fighting story.
Well, I've said it before, and you're talking about this place out in Southern California that everybody used to go out to. It's called the River, part of Colorado River in Parker, Arizona. And my friend had a trailer on the river there, and he had a boat dock with speakers and stuff like that. And this guy comes pulling up in a race boat kind of thing for the river there. He had some girls with him, and he had long hair, and he was a small guy with an attitude. And he thought that because he had like 3 or 4 chicks with him, that he had like carte blanche to act like he was a big shot. And he was trying to take over the stereo, play music that he wanted to play. And I'm like, hey, who the fuck is this guy on the deck, you know? And everybody's like, well, he brought the girls. And I'm like, well, yeah, but who the fuck's he to come up here and start fucking with our music and all that kind of stuff? He was like trying to take over, you know, kind of thing. And I said, hey, man, you better chill out. And he's all, dude, like that. And he's kind of a little bit older. But, you know, we were kids, 20-ish. And so I think NWA was popular at the time. And so I go, well, time for you to sit down and shut up or you're going to get a lesson. And so I ended up, he was not having that because he was like in control. And, well, he thought he was. So I picked him up and like in a cradle kind of thing with one of his legs. And I held him over the deck over these jagged rocks that where the boat was out, a boat ramp or
Wow.
the boat dock, and I was hanging him over the thing like you wanna fall on the rocks, and he was terrified.
Jesus Christ. So you're like pushing him off or just.
No, I had him like in a cradle like
Oh,
this.
an amber. Okay.
Okay, I had like one of his legs, and then my other arm was behind his neck. I was holding him over the thing. I was pretty big and strong at the time, lifting a lot. And he was holding on to the side of the deck, going, "Please, no, no, no." So I kind of turned him over, but pulled him back on and threw him on the dock. And he decided, I guess, that he was going
Is
to
there
fight.
people watching this, by the way, or is it just you
Oh
guys?
no, No, everybody was out on the boat dock and in going into the trailer. Everybody that was there kind of knew what who I was and what I was about. So they were like, "Oh fuck!" And so I threw him on the dock. Well, that happened, and he kind of was strewn across the dock. Well, he gets up to his like fours, and then he decides he's going to tackle me. uh, and so he comes charging towards my waist, and obviously I've wrestled for a long time, so that's kind of futile. And I reach down and grab his hair, and I start whipping him around like a, like a like a dog or something like that. And I was just about done with that, and I decided I was going to give him a nice little hoorah, like back over the railing, maybe fall onto the rocks. So I went for a super roost of a pull, and sure enough, his hair came off. And the girls that he was with were in the house in the kitchen area making drinks and where the refrigerator and stuff, so they have no idea this is going on. I pull his wig off. He had a wig. He's sewn to his head, with the cords and all.
Yeah.
And it saved his life basically because everybody started laughing, including myself. And he was like a little tantrum baby, like he had to go grab his hair that I just thrown onto the dock floor, the decking, and he grabbed his hair that I just scalped him with, and he went in the front door with his hair in his hand and yelled for the girls that they had to leave. So the girls all come running out. There's three or four of them in like bikinis and stuff. And he's walking back to his boat that's down in the dock with his hair in hand. And the girls right behind him. And they got in the boat and drove off with his hair missing. But it ended up saving his life because I would have,
Oh yeah. You've had some adventures.
yeah, that was quite, that was, if it didn't translate enough for you, you had to be there. It was funny as all beats hell.
Someone's tipping $1.99 to want. He wants to know if you were popular in high school.
Oh yeah, I was the football star. Not I was the anti-hero football star. I kind of like the bad news bear guy that was the bad guy, but was good at things like wrestling and stuff like that. And
I'm sure they loved that you were a fighter too.
yeah, everybody kind of knew that was not like by the time I was a senior, it was like yeah, like it was like I was almost like alone then. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, here comes the big guy, and I wasn't big, but the guy that could beat you up.
Would you even be challenged at all by a high school student in those days?
No, that was
No,
not by that time.
no.
By the time I'd say, by
People were probably scared shitless of you.
yeah, rightfully so. I was a wild man. I used to. It was back in the days that every Friday and Saturday that everybody's like your parents would leave, and there was house parties, and so he was like, "Oh my God, don't tell that guy about the house parties." But everybody would drive around. Um, that was your social entertainment for the weekends. Friday, Saturday night, go to somebody's house parties.
Was there a lot of fights in your high school back then, or was it because California you hear peace and love, but then there's also the really crazy aspects of California where there's gang fights and
No, there's no
wars
good.
and stuff. You're in a
Um,
fancier area, right? Huntington
yeah,
Beach.
yeah, by the harbor there, Huntington Harbor Marina High School was. My parents moved. I have a brother and a sister that are 5 and 8 years older than me, so I was like the pet. And my parents moved me into that neighborhood. And back in the day, they used to say, "Someday you will thank me or us for moving here." And I get it now. I didn't then because we lived a little further down the road, and I would have gone to a completely different high school, socioeconomic high school that was not even in comparison. I would have not been who I am today.
And last question, you've grazed over this before, but could you explain to us your whole Friends appearance? Because that's what really made you cross over from MMA to a true celebrity, at least for that point in time. There was a period of time where you were the most popular MMA fighter, whether people like you or hate you, they got to admit
Yeah,
that.
as Rogan said, I was the most popular fighter from the UFC. Period. Back in those days.
For people that are too young, you were in those
Yeah,
days, you were equivalent to McGregor for
yeah,
that period of time.
yeah, and more realistic. Like McGregor, that guy's not going to go anywhere. That guy couldn't. You would
I don't.
say
Do you
that.
think he's serious about running for president? No,
What
but when we
over
don't want to
Ireland?
digress to for Ireland or prime minister, whatever the heck it is, and no, not to insult Ireland because we're actually airing on an Irish podcast channel too
Oh,
at this
yeah. No,
moment.
who knows? I don't know. I don't know the guy. I mean, he's. It's all written. You know what I mean? So, but obviously, it was written for Tito to be mayor. But
But yeah, I digress there. But the whole Friends story, how did that come
the
about?
friends thing, I do. Like I said, I was the by far the most famous guy of the UFC. I was the UFC for people that don't know that, and like there was no other, no one even close. Like we go to a UFC show, and there'd be a room full of fighters, and I walk in there, and everybody would leave them and all run to me. And it was like everywhere I went back in those days. So they got a publicist company to um, get the UFC out there, with whatever promotions they could do. And somehow they got this Friends thing done. And at that time, and to this day, I don't watch that much TV. And so they called me up and said, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Oh, whatever. I don't know, partying probably." And they go, "Well, here's the deal. Um, you're gonna be on Friends." And I was like, and what's that? And they were all
Oh,
so,
come on. You didn't watch Friends?
I didn't even know what it was. And they're like going, you don't know what Friends is? I go, I have no clue. I don't watch sitcoms or anything like that. I go,
And for anyone that doesn't know, that was the biggest sitcom of the time, if anyone's younger watching this.
oh yeah, by far. Come to find out. And I go, I have a clue who these people are. Not a clue. And he goes, well, they want you to be in the show. And so can you do it? I go, yeah, sure, I guess. And so I started asking around, like, here, this show called Friends or whatever. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's with whatever, the people that play it and all that. And so we went to, I don't know, the studio. I forget where it was. And went in there and all the actors and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have a clue who anybody was. And I didn't know anything, anyone, all the thing. And talk about a goofball. Big John McCartney's in there. He was like a big goon that knew everything about like, oh boy, we're gonna be on Friend. It was like, oh my god, he was like, it was craziness, is what it was. But I didn't know who any of them were, and didn't even know until whatever. I couldn't even find anybody to be on to want go on the show. I got some guy that was a bartender, and I got Tito, whom I barely knew then. I mean, I rolled with him maybe 5 times up to that point, and I said, "Hey," and a bartender and somebody else to walk out with me, and went and did the show, and that was it. Don't
How
even.
did the cast treat you?
Everybody was kind of. It was kind of like being at a wrestling show. Everybody was just kept to themselves. It's like whatever, It's like, oh hey, they walk by and go, hey. Jennifer Aniston was the only one that looked good as far as like good looking wise.
Oh, really? David Arquette's girlfriend at the time, or wife at the time, Courtney Cox, wasn't as attractive. You fought Courtney Cox's boyfriend in
Yeah,
the show, right? Yeah.
yeah, David. Yeah, that guy. He used to. I used to hang out in Malibu on the beach there. He would be out there on the beach. I never bothered him. I just keep walking by. He had no idea. This was after wrestling. He had no idea that was me walking by. I saw him at the
Yeah.
forum once, and I said, "Hey, I walk by your house all the time. I see you out there." He said, "How come you never say hi?" I'm like, maybe I will someday.
When he was in WCW, was he changing with the boys, or did he have his own like trailer or something like that?
No, he had his own limo. I know that. Um, he probably had. Everybody has their own dressing room if you're somebody, and so he probably had his own dressing room. I'm sure he did.
I imagine you just changed with all the boys and everything, right?
Yeah,
Now they all have trailers, anyways. Like they go overboard now. It doesn't seem like the camaraderie is there anymore.
yeah. Mostly, as you said, the locker room, and but like if you're, I think somebody started. Oh, I want a dressing room, and then well, Yahoo has a dressing room. I want one. That kind of thing. But I never cared. Who cares?
Well, I really appreciate you coming on again and filling us in about WrestleMania week. I was telling the fans to go to Amazon for your book, which you're doing a screenplay of a different book now. Could you want to say anything about that, or is
Well,
that
actually, I'm doing a screenplay of the the three books that are a trilogy of one story, and so like I was like, if I ever got to the point of doing a screenplay kind of thing, that I was under the assumption, which is always a was asked of you and me type thing, um, that you could just write a screenplay and it's simple. Just read the book and make a screenplay out of it. And I studied. I did a little looking into it and studied it a little bit, and I'm glad that I did because um, I don't think I could have gotten somebody to write a screenplay that I would be happy with. So I wrote my own screenplay. It's not rocket science, and I got a degree in history, so writing isn't that difficult for me to do. You just sit down and fill out a blue book for all your exams and stuff like that in college, so it's not that difficult for me to write stuff. But so it's taken a while, but I've got a pretty good story of old Walter Fox and how he got into the UFC. A lot of people think Walter Fox is me. The only true fighter of the UFC, not an athlete that tries to go out and play around with technique and skills and that kind of stuff, but a fighter, somebody that fights because it's in his soul, a warrior. And so I made a screenplay out of it. I got the first draft done. I'm going through it right now, editing it. And who knows? You never know. Could be the what is it? Moby Dick. Moby Dick didn't take off overnight, and it's considered one of the best novels that ever been written. But
definitely?
so just chisel away at time. I sit here. You can see where I sit, and, but now I'm looking at the background and can't see four
There
people
is
that far.
mountains back there for anyone wondering. It's just the sunlight, sadly.
They're all mountains back there. And I sit out here.
Oh, and you're killing snakes is your new hobby too. Could you tell you killed a rattlesnake the other day because it was annoying your dogs or something? What happened there?
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm not. Believe it or not, I'm very empathetic and I love animals. But if you're gonna kill my dogs, I love my dogs more than a snake. And there was a big rattler on the walkway up to my front door, and so I had to dispose of them. But they're like they're nuisances, and it doesn't make it any better when you take an animal's life. But like I can't even watch those reels that with uh, with the people that mistreat dogs and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
don't know why they keep sending those. Those that'll ruin your day. That's one
It
thing that really
certainly,
bothers me.
yeah, it really bothers me too. I like, and these guys that hunt and stuff like that. You know what is weird? Before I went through everything that I've gone through, I was like, whatever. Hunting's been around forever, but I could easily these people that hunt, they try to call these animal beasts and stuff like that. I don't know where they get off thinking they're all that in on a bag of chips. So they go out and shoot a fucking poor animal. And I get it. You know, these animals that kill you. but that doesn't give you a right to go take a gun and go shoot their ass just because you feel like you want to fucking be macho. And how about I fucking take that fucking rifle and shoot your ass? Um, but that's my new take on hunting. But what do you
So when
think?
you killed the snake, you used a shovel or something?
Yeah, you cut its head off. But and they still move. Even the head. You I cut the thing off, and there's probably about 6 inches on that snake's head and the neck, and it still moves around as well as the body. I hate doing it, but you know, I would. I also got hawks and stuff out here, and hawks and owls, and they they're always nabbing rabbits and stuff out of my back property. I sit out here, and I don't like watching that either. But if they got one of my dogs, I there would not be any hawks flying around my house. I can guarantee you that. And I don't care if it's their land or my land. You don't take my dogs. You don't touch my dogs.
I know you were telling a story the other day about threatening to shoot down a drone or something. What do you can you tell us what you carry there, or I don't know if you want to tell us, but
Uh, I live in a permitless carry state, and I'm a law-abiding citizen, and everybody out here has a gun, and I'm part of everybody. But yeah, no, everybody behaves, everyone's nice, and that's the way it should be.
I actually heard an Arizona sheriff say that he recommends that people carry there just for the fact that it's going to be at least 5 minutes for the police to come in most cases.
Oh, it take good half hour to get to where I'm at.
Yeah, you're way out in the boonies.
Yeah, I love it out here. No one to bother me. Um, but it is what it is. The, I, whatever. Whatever. They have guns, whatever. I don't bother anybody. I don't want to be bothered. Don't bother me. There's no big.
Did you hear about Henry Cejudo from Arizona? Someone crashed into his neighbor's house one day, tried to run away. He caught him, and they all tackled him. Then just a couple days later, someone broke into his house and stole like his replica title. So Arizona does have a little bit of wildness to it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I understand. I'm surprised he doesn't have cameras everywhere, like my house. But I didn't know he lives out here. He's one of those little
Yeah,
guys, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The mini fire, and I'm sure he can out technical me. So I mean, I'm sure I could get a couple shots into, but yeah, I just thought I was coincidence, like two crimes within a week.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. Uh, I, there, whatever. No, I'm way out here. There's no. It would be really hard to do anything out here. Like I said, I don't bother anybody. People don't bother me. Whatever. Everybody's happy.
Well, very good. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for filling us in. I'm glad you didn't have to go at it with Fry, and you guys behaved. And I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans. Fans, get on Amazon and buy his book. And if they want an autographed copy, they can message you on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yes. All right. Look at that. Wow, it's me. Hey, everybody, keep it cool. I'm out here relaxing, doing my thing. Do the same. Have a good one. Take care.